Hello, everybody. Welcome to the I Teach How To series. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to outgrow and reinvent oneself. Okay, so I go with the flow when I speak. And the way that I speak, or say the way that I teach or deliver messages, might not be for everyone. And I take the longer approaches to deliver quality contents. And I don't do much editing. I would add in details for visualization or deeper understanding for the sake of this, but not for the sake of shortening any kind of time in order to make things happen faster, because I don't take the shortcuts personally. And so I value any time of breath, to let things to form into what they need to form into. And I would not hurry anything to pick up their pace that they're not supposed to be at. And so if you don't feel like the pace of this video is resonating with you, then this video or this type of contents that I'm producing might not be for you. And if you do have the patience to listen to what I'm gonna say here, then thank you, and I welcome you to join this conversation with me. So let's get into the overview of things for today. What we're going to talk about here today is that how to outgrow and reinvent ourselves again and again. And the reason that we have to come into this topic, or else you wouldn't click into this video, is because you do have this desire as well to bettering yourself, right? That is kind of like an intrinsic or innate preset that is in each of us, because we all yearn for growth, be it consciously or unconsciously. And in fact, whenever we encounter any kind of suffering, that is also one way of how our nature is telling us it's time to grow. Right? It's time to outgrow ourselves. That's why we feel painful and suffering when it comes to some cases in life, because it is actually pushing us to go within and to learn about what is it that I actually need to improve on. But I just have been procrastinating. Right? And so this video, what are we going to cover? It's going to be quite a lot, but it's going to be deep and meaningful. And that's what all my contents are here for. Now, we're going to go into the what, when, and where first of this topic. What is it that we can understand about the second curve, okay, that I would mention in a minute, is that this second curve is actually how we can utilize, or say visualize in a way, to apply to our transformational growth, be it in any aspect in our life, actually. Okay, and that is the what. And then where is that, where to apply, in which aspects of our lives that we can apply all of this understanding that we're going to talk about here. The third thing would be when. Now that we know what is the curve like, the curve of the growth, or say learning curve is like, and we understand where we can apply, but then when do we know we can apply? When do we know how to spot that exact moment that I need to utilize all of these techniques or tools in order to outgrow any kind of old patterns? right? So the timing is also very important when it comes to any growth. And after that, we would go into the what kind of tools that we can utilize in order to implement all that we have learned. All right? And then we would go into a deep dive into the how and the why. How to apply. And what are the questions that we can ask ourselves during the process of application, so to better understand that what I need to work on and how to reinvent myself many versions of ourselves, right? In which way? And that would be the why, because we need reasons. We need understanding to work on ourselves, to improve. So that would be the overview of the video. And now let's start. Let's begin, all right? First of all, before I get into the second curve, which would be actually the learning curve plus the outgrowing of it, I would like to first point out that every one of us, if we ever want to upgrade ourselves, we first need to shed. It is true. We need to so-called sacrifice something that we are currently still operating with, and to shed them, to literally shed them off. And in this process of shedding, we then reinvent ourselves in a completely new way that would somehow can be seen as metamorphosis, right? It is a way that we come into newer versions of ourselves, because it is actually an ongoing process throughout our lives. It is not just a one-time thing. It's not. It depends on how an individual recognize oneself and realize the changes that are necessary for oneself to grow into, or say to take action in order to grow into. And the pace of each person is different. And that is why sometimes we see some individuals grow really substantially and really rapidly, while some others might not be this case. But does it matter? No. Because everyone is in their own time zone and everyone has their own way of operating. It does not matter how the other person is. What really truly matters is how you are, how I am, how each of us is operating at their own pace, and understanding what is best for oneself, and that's good enough. So there's no comparison needed. There's no judgment needed when it comes to other people. What is worth the most is self-understanding. And that is the gold, or say the key, that we are all here trying to alchemize in our lifetime. Isn't it? So, yep, that being said, we're gonna go into the second curve right now. So there's a book that I read, which I'm gonna quote a little from the book in a minute. This book that I read is called The Second Curve by Charles Handy. Now this which I would put the link in the description box below if anyone is interested in this book, okay, reading this book. Now this book, one of the essays that this author presented in this book, which is actually the same as the title of this book, which is called The Second Curve, right? When I read this book, when I read this essay, it really resonates with me to a point that I then realized, oh, this is how I have been operating. But I did not know that there is such a theory, so to speak, that has been proposed by somebody. And it does apply. And that's why I got inspired by reading this essay to speak on here, to share my personal experiences and my reflection on how I have been operating, and it works. And that's why I'm sharing here with you all. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about a little bit of the curve. So now you see the sigmoid curve here, right? Okay. Now the sigmoid curve, I'm gonna quote from the book right now. The sigmoid curve is an S-shaped curve on its side, like this. The sigmoid curve is a mathematical concept used as a metaphor. It is a familiar idea to many. The phrases learning curve and ahead of the curve refer to it, and many businesses use it when projecting the future. What is not always realized, however, is that it is much more than that. It is the line of all things human, of our own lives, of organizations and businesses, of governments, empires, and alliances, of democracy itself and its many and varied institutions. So, in each case, there is or was an initial period of investment, be it financial or education, in the case of our own lives, or of trial and experiment, a period when the input exceeds the output, when the line of the S dips down. More goes out than comes in. Then, as results begin to show and glimmers of progress emerge, the line moves up. If all goes well, it continues to rise, but the time comes when, inevitably, the curve peaks and begins its descent. The descent can be prolonged, and often is, but oblivion waits at the end. So eventually it's going to die down. It is just how all the empires, even Roman empires, any kind of dynasties in history, it would just eventually die out or die down, okay? It is a natural process of how things, lives operate. And there's no exception. So what this author, Charles Handy, also suggested is that it does seem to be a depressing prospect, right? Because it's like, oh, it's gonna die off anyways, it's gonna die down. But it need not be. Now, I'm quoting him. But it need not be. There can always be a second curve, like this. Obvious, you might think, but there is a problem. The nasty and often fatal snag is that the second curve has to start before the first curve peaks. Only then are there enough resources of money, time, and energy to cover that first initial dip, the investment period. Okay, so this is what I'm quoting from the book. And what I wanna, after I read this book, it really reminds me of myself and the way that I have been operating for God knows how long, like since a long, long time. And I have always thought myself to be inconsistent in the past, okay? And not only just myself, but a lot of even my parents, they could see me as being very inconsistent and not persevering. Okay, like not being consistent with what I put out to do or set out to do, not continuing anything of it. And for a while, quite some years actually, I would be really having a lot of self-doubt and confusing moments where am I actually inconsistent in such a way that makes me not successful, or say not fitting. And it's only later in the years that I realized that no, this is my strength. And it's come to a point that I have seen more and more of the results of this coming into place, or say falling into place. That I am not what the norm usually is. And that is why I don't seem to be consistent, nor I seem to fit in. And maybe the reason is I'm not meant to fit in. And I fully embrace that. And so now that second curve that we just read, how can I relate, and also what I just shared about my personal experience of who I am as a person, how I operate, the inconsistency, is what I resonate with this book, The Second Curve Theory, is that whenever anything starts off or starts to get good, I would leave. Whenever there was a time, I remember when I was maybe 19 or 20, I was working as a reporter. Just about when I got promoted, or having a promotion by my boss, I resigned. I didn't even know that she was going to promote me, but I resigned. And it was at the time that I told her that I'm going to resign. She then said, oh wow, I was about to actually promote you, but you actually resigned. I didn't expect that. And I was like, oh, okay. But of course I did not stay. But this actually, I was being reminded of this piece of memory when I read this book. It was because that's the right spot that I was meant to leave in order to enter the second curve. Because it is right before the peak of that first curve, the sigmoid curve, so to speak. Right before that intersection here is where I decided to leave, because it's about to get good. And it's something that's very innate in me, and I didn't even know that. And for these many years, I've been operating in such a way, and I would say this is what I'm going to share with where to apply. And this where to apply really comes into many different aspects of my life personally. It comes in majorly career. But you know what? I would actually put it as personal growth. I am someone that seems to be all over the place, seemingly. But in truth, it's because I'm playing with possibilities. And people will be like, what kind of possibilities are you playing with? Is to playing with what excites me the most. What it is that makes me feel the most energetic, vibrant, and excited. Because it's excitement that keeps me going. I don't like repetition. It bores me. Because if I'm to repeat something, I have to have variations in the repetition. Only then I know there's something new. And that is what creativity comes in. That's how creativity is being born into this world for me, personally. Because I don't like to think in a box. Because I don't like putting myself in any box. And what do? I create molds of various shapes and forms for myself to expand into. And this is what I would like to talk about. When to spot and what to utilize and apply. Okay? And here are 5 major things that I have summarized into as a conclusion, as a concise conclusion, as referring to my past experiences. So these 5 things, it might sound very counterintuitive to you, but they are literally gold for myself. The first gold is see what sticks on the wall. Like you see what sticks on the wall and don't linger. Do not linger. Be it if it sticks on the wall or not, be it sticks or it doesn't stick, do not linger. Just throw. See what sticks on the wall, test it, experiment with the possibilities. Okay? And see all of this, be it they stick or don't stick, are simply feedbacks. And don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Just see it as an experiment. Just throw, see what sticks. And an example of what I did, with this is the videos that I have been posting on this channel, is that you don't see one video repeating a genre. There are various genres on this channel that I've explored. And that is exactly one example of how I have been throwing what sticks on the wall. It doesn't matter if it sticks or not, because be it sticks or it doesn't stick, it tells me something. And that is how we can learn about the data, the information, as a feedback for oneself to know, oh, okay, that is something I need to look within. Why? Because whatever is working in the external or whatever is not working in the external, okay, it's something that we throw out, any kind of experiment, any kind of trial and error, test, is actually about myself. It's a system that I'm building. It's a system that I'm crafting within. If the system works, my mindset is working smoothly with not much friction, everything's gonna everything is gonna flow in the external. It's simply just gonna work. So that's why I said, don't take it personal. It's not about emotion here. It's simply about what works and what doesn't. Knock on the doors See whoever opens the door. If no one opens the door, move to another one. If somebody answers the door, there are two possibilities. You might get into a longer conversation with them. Another possibility is that they would say no, they would reject you. Take it as a feedback. Simple as that. Don't take it personal. It's not about your worth. It's about your system. So that's the first thing. See what sticks on the wall and what doesn't stick on the wall, and collect that data as your feedback for your own system, to refine your own system. That's the first thing, concisely. Second thing is drop it once the excitement begins to die out. I repeat, drop it once the excitement begins to die out, or say begins to drop. Okay, begins to drop. Just drop. Drop this entire thing. Don't stick to something that you find it so exciting and just think, I'm going to make a big thing out of it. To me, it's not. Now, I'm talking about personal growth. I'm talking about personal growth and expansion. How to jump from one thing to another at the right time, that spot, when to jump, when to leap, before the first curve dips. Okay, that's what I'm talking about here. That's why I said drop it once the excitement begins to drop or begins to die out. The reason behind this is, whenever we are very focused on getting so excited, it would eventually come to a point that it starts to drop. And what is this drop in the excitement? This drop actually symbolizes something is consolidating, something is solidifying, materializing, right? Because when we get excited, it's the idea that gets us excited. The idea of going on a vacation, the idea of going to a restaurant, the idea of experiencing a moment with somebody, an idea of something is the experience, the idea of the experience of a future outcome that excites us. And the moment that it starts to drop, it means something is materializing. Something is consolidating and solidifying into material. Then what does it mean? It means the energy is not going to be as explorative. If you actually decide to consolidate it, it means that the excitement would die off very, very quickly soon as you focus on developing into this. It would just consolidate. And the energy, which is actually your focus, your attention, would then not be as explorative. What is explorative? It means expansion, divergent. But if you decide to converge at this point, feel free, it's all right, but you got to make your own choice. You got to collect your data, see what sticks on the wall and what doesn't stick. That would be your own data pool. And if you understand that this would be my best shot intuitively, or intuitive analysis, then go for it. But what I'm suggesting here is the spot where you know when to jump, where to take a leap onto the second curve. And that will lead you to more growth. And that's when the excitement begins to die off, begins to drop, because that's when the energy would become denser and not as explorative and expansive. Okay, now the third thing is look into the horizon again once anything is about to get good. Okay? The reason is there is always a time that we would feel comfortable. Also, we want to feel comfortable. And that's when things are going to that's when things are about to get good. That means we would be starting to settle in, would start to feel comfortable. And that's when things are going to slow down when it comes to learning and growth. It does not mean that it's not good. It can be for certain phases, they are of very good usage. But when one wants to outgrow or reinvent oneself, you gotta keep shedding to the point where you're completely new. And then you don't have to shed anymore, because now you have already entered the stage or the state of being fully materialized into your new version of yourself. It is a process that you don't even have to track. It is something that you follow with the flow, and it is not about planning. It is not about, I'm going to do this and then do that. It is more about how you go with that instinct. You go with that understanding within oneself that when I feel like there's no more growth here, I need to reinvent myself. I need something new. It's about to get good. It's about to get comfortable. Now it's time for me to get uncomfortable, to get out of my comfort zone. And that's outgrowing oneself, right? It's about getting out of my comfort zone again and again, and I become very comfortable with getting out of the comfort zones. And it becomes a momentum that is just a flow for me to keep outgrowing myself. It is not even I have to force myself to outgrow myself. It has become me. It's in me. That I'm not resistant to any kind of resistance, because I understand that whatever resistance comes is for me to leverage for personal growth. And so that's the third part. That's the third point. Okay? When anything is about to get good, okay? Look into the horizon again. Once anything is about to get good, it's because now explore the new opportunities, explore the new possibilities. Get out there. Get out there, okay? And get yourself uncomfortable. That's how we grow. Right? Okay, the fourth point is listen to opposing voices, thoughts, and noises. Listen to opposing voices, thoughts, and noises. In simpler terms, it means to learn from resistance. Really, to learn from resistance. Because when we are only in our own head or in our own realm, most of the time we don't know what's on the other side or what's on the other sides. In fact, we live in a dualistic setting, right? We live in duality. And so, of course, there would be opposing forces. The opposition side. That is what duality is. However, there's not just one opposing voice. There are actually many opposing positions, many oppositions. It is just what it is. And what it is that these are all the things that are still unknown to my understanding. And if I am willing to explore them, that means I'm going to learn about them. And that is what it is. What is it? Learning about myself. Because it's part of me. They are all part of me, but I just don't know them yet. And so when I come to embrace them, embody them, and understand them, I will then become more expansive because I'm including all of those unknowns that I have yet to understand. That means I'm absorbing everything in. And that's how I grow. How I expand. By including every of the aspects that I'm not familiar with, because they symbolize, they represent what I can learn, what I need to learn. And these are all the opposing voices, thoughts, and noises. And the fifth point is observe and spot the patterns. Okay, the patterns. It's always about the patterns in any kind of situations, any kind of unit systems. So what are the patterns? There are three types. The obvious ones, the first one, okay, the obvious one. The undercurrent ones, undercurrent. And the third one, the hidden ones. Does it ring a bell to you if you ever come across psychology? It's similar very much to the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind, right? Obvious, undercurrent, and hidden. So this would be the fifth point, is to understand patterns that have been going on in our lives, or even in any systems. It could be a company, okay? It could be any kind of unit, even in any kind of computing system. All the patterns actually allow us to understand what has been working, okay? Be it good or not, it depends on the situation, and it depends on how we want to upgrade, which direction we want to upgrade into. And also through the patterns that we would see any kind of intersectional patterns, that they are actually entangled together. Now these kind of patterns would be the undercurrent. Because when it comes to undercurrent patterns, they would be not as obvious. And the reason that they would not be as obvious is because they are entangled. They are self-flow patterns being entangled together, so it is not easy to spot. But when these patterns being entangled together, they create other side effects and would lead to certain outcomes that would cause the system either to failure or to expansion. And the hidden ones, what are the hidden ones? The hidden patterns are the biggest pattern, which means the big picture. And this would be usually the hardest to see, because these kind of hidden patterns involve past, present, and future. And they are so vague in a sense, that's why it's so hidden. It spans into the past and to the future that's yet to happen. So that's why it's hidden. It's unknown. But in order to tap into this kind of hidden patterns, one has to be very aware of the obvious patterns and undercurrent patterns first, in order to get into the deepest part of the iceberg. Okay? And so, these are the 5 points of the what, where, and when that we've explored here in this video. And I did say that we're gonna deep dive into the how and the why. How to apply these 5 points, right? We gotta know how to utilize them, and what kind of questions and what kind of aspects that I can explore into, deep dive into, in order to utilize, apply efficiently for oneself or for any system that I am working on. And that I would put it into the extended video. That if you see the value in what I have been proposing, what I have been suggesting, and if not, you would not be still watching this video, isn't it? So if you do feel resonating with what I have been proposing, suggesting, and sharing, and at the same time you see the value in that, you would, I would say, I invite you to invest in me as to the extended version of this video, that we're going to deep dive into the why and the how, but not actually just investing in me, but in yourself. It is in fact all about yourself. If you happen to feel the value and you want that, that's on you. And so before I'm gonna go into the wrapping up of this video here, I would like to first share why am I worth listening to, or say why would I worth your investment, say, because it is a value proposition, isn't it? It is value proposition. So there are 3 things that you can see, or say I would say, that why I'm worth listening to or worth investing into the contents that I'm producing. The first thing is, you can see on my channel that all my videos don't repeat. They do not repeat. And in fact, they are of different genres. Okay? What does it mean? Creativity. I explore all the possibilities and keep exploring, keep experimenting, keep throwing things onto the wall and see what sticks and see what's not. And what matters the most is not about the views. It's not about that. That's just a very small part of it. What I gathers the most is the understanding of myself and what I can look into further. And not only that, I receive the feedbacks from people and also statistics to validate my own understanding of myself. And that would be the directions that I would focus more of my energy and time to grow into. Because this is to serve as a feedback system for myself. Don't take it personal. Don't take the feedbacks personal. Okay. Now the second thing is that for all the videos that I posted, I either go deep into every subject, into every topic, go very deep, or I would come up with very creative insights that surprise individuals or viewers, or both. Okay? And the reason is because I think out of the box. Because I'm never in the box. So of course, I'm out of the box. But why? What can we see from this? How can we see from this? Is that the third point is my videos, my channel and my videos are not viral. No, the average views are like 200 views for each video. What does it mean? It means I don't follow the algorithm. Then what does it mean if I don't follow the algorithm? It means I don't think in the box. I think out of the box. Because I don't follow the trend. Even the algorithm cannot recognize me. Because I don't repeat myself. The algorithm repeats. The algorithm loves repetition. That's how they build the data, right? That's how the algorithm is being trained to build things, to grow things. Repetition. I'm not such a person. Because I don't put myself into any box. As I've already said. I build molds of various shapes and forms as I wish myself to grow into. And so that's it. For those who feel like you have received and gained whatever you need at this particular time from this video, and you don't feel the need to go into the extended, I thank you for your time and your patience for listening up till here, and thank you so much for your support. And for those who resonate with this content and see the value into the deep diving of how to apply all of this and why, the reasons behind all of this operation in order to outgrow and reinvent oneself out of old patterns again and again, I will then see you in the extended version. Ciao, ciao.